In a stunning escalation that has sent shockwaves through West Africa and beyond, Burkina Faso's military announced today that it had successfully shot down an unmanned aerial vehicle, UAV, identified as an American drone, accusing it of conducting espionage operations in preparation for a potential U.S.-orchestrated invasion. The incident, which occurred over the arid skies of the Sahel region near the Mali border, is being framed by Burkinabe officials as a direct violation of sovereign airspace and a harbinger of aggressive foreign interference aimed at ousting the nation's young leader, Captain Ibrahim Traore. The drone, described by Burkina Faso's defense ministry as a high-altitude reconnaissance model resembling the MQ-9 Reaper commonly used by the U.S. military, was intercepted and destroyed early this morning using surface-to-air missiles from a Russian-supplied Pantsir S-1 system. Eyewitnesses in the remote village of Dori reported hearing a thunderous explosion followed by debris raining down over the desert landscape. "It was like the sky was splitting open," said one local farmer, who spoke on condition of anonymity amid fears of reprisal. Initial footage circulating on social media shows twisted metal wreckage emblazoned with what appear to be U.S. Air Force markings, though these have not been independently verified. Burkina Faso's government wasted no time in linking the drone to broader geopolitical machinations. In a fiery press conference broadcast live from the presidential palace, Minister of Defense General Kassim Koulibaly declared the UAV a tool of imperial aggression, deployed to gather intelligence for an impending operation masterminded by former, and potentially future, U.S. President Donald J. Trump. This is no mere surveillance flight. It is the opening salvo in a plot to destabilize our revolution and remove Captain Traore, who has dared to challenge the neo-colonial grip on Africa, Koulibaly thundered, his voice echoing through the room packed with journalists and military brass. To understand the gravity of these accusations, one must delve into the turbulent context surrounding Captain Ibrahim Traore, the 35-year-old army officer who seized power in a coup in September 2022, marking Burkina Faso's second military takeover in less than a year. Traore, often portrayed as a Pan-Africanist firebrand inspired by figures like Thomas Sankara, has aggressively pivoted the landlocked nation away from Western alliances. Under his leadership, Burkina Faso has expelled French troops, severed ties with the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, amid sanctions, and deepened partnerships with Russia, including Wagner Group mercenaries, now rebranded as Africa Corps, to combat jihadist insurgencies in the north. His rhetoric has emphasized self-reliance, resource sovereignty, particularly over gold mines previously dominated by foreign firms, and a rejection of what he calls puppet regimes propped up by Washington and Paris. This shift has not gone unnoticed in the corridors of global power. Enter Donald Trump, whose bombastic return to the international stage has been marked by increasingly bellicose statements on Africa. Just last week, during a rally in Florida, Trump vowed to clean house in what he termed failed states that harbor anti-American sentiments. "We've got leaders over there in Africa who think they can kick out our allies and cozy up to Putin without consequences," Trump bellowed to a cheering crowd. "If I'm back in the White House, and believe me, I will be, we're going to remove those bad actors, one way or another. No more free rides on American security." While Trump did not name specific countries, his comments were widely interpreted as targeting the Alliance of Sahel States, a bloc including Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, whose leaders have all ousted Western forces in favor of Russian support. The timing of the drone incident could not be more precarious. It unfolds against a backdrop of heightened U.S.-Africa tensions, with reports of increased American drone activity over the Sahel following the withdrawal of French and UN peacekeeping forces. Intelligence analysts suggest the UAV may have been part of Operation Juniper Shield, a long-standing U.S. counterterrorism program in the region, but Burkinabe officials dismiss this as a cover story. Why would a counterterrorism drone stray 50 kilometers into our restricted airspace without authorization? Questioned a senior military source in Ouagadougou. This was reconnaissance for invasion, mapping our defenses, identifying Traore's movements, perhaps even preparing for targeted strikes. Adding layers to the intrigue, anonymous sources within Burkina Faso security apparatus claim the drone's payload included advanced signals intelligence equipment capable of intercepting communications from the Presidential Guard. Speculation is rife that this data was intended to facilitate a covert operation, possibly involving US-backed mercenaries or regional proxies like ECOWAS forces. Trump's history of unorthodox foreign policy, recall his 2019 threats against North Korea or his 2020 authorization of the drone strike on Iranian General Qasem Soleimani, lends credence to fears that he might greenlight similar actions against African leaders defying U.S. interests. Trump sees Africa as a chessboard, said Dr. Amina Diallo, a political analyst at the University of Ouagadougou. Traore's defiance, especially his nationalization of mines that supply critical minerals for U.S. tech industries, makes him a prime target. The international community is scrambling to respond. Russia's foreign ministry issued a statement condemning the provocative U.S. incursion and pledging full support to Burkina Faso, including expedited deliveries of air defense systems. China, a major investor in Burkinabe infrastructure, called for restraint while subtly criticizing Washington's hegemonic behavior. Meanwhile, the U.S. State Department has neither confirmed nor denied the drone's origin, stating only that it is investigating reports of an aviation incident and urging all parties to avoid escalation. White House spokesperson Karine Jean-Pierre, in a terse briefing, reiterated America's commitment to regional stability, but sidestepped questions about Trump's recent threats. As debris from the downed drone is analyzed in secure facilities, questions multiply. Was this truly a spy mission or an accidental overflight amid routine patrols? Could Trump's rhetoric be mere electioneering bluster, or a genuine prelude to intervention? And what of Traore's fate? Will this incident bolster his domestic support as a defender against imperialism, or invite further isolation? Tensions simmer in Ouagadougou's streets, where pro-Traore rallies have erupted, chanting slogans like, "Down with the drones, up with the revolution." The world watches breathlessly as this Sahel flashpoint threatens to ignite a broader confrontation, with the specter of great power rivalry looming large over Africa's fragile peace. In the wake of this morning's dramatic downing of an alleged U.S. spy drone over Burkinabe airspace, Captain Ibrahim Traore, the resolute leader of Burkina Faso's transitional government, stepped before a throng of journalists, diplomats, and fervent supporters at the Palais de Qassem. Flanked by armed guards and the Burkinabe flag billowing in the background, Traore delivered a blistering address that reverberated with defiance, invoking the spirit of Burkina Faso's revolutionary past while lambasting what he called Yankee arrogance. His words, laced with the fire of a soldier scholar, escalated the crisis, drawing sharp lines between African self-determination and perceived Western meddling. Below is a transcript of his opening remarks, which have already sparked international uproar. "My fellow Burkinabe, sons and daughters of the Sahel, guardians of our sacred soil, today, I stand before you not as a mere captain, but as the voice of a people unbroken, unbowed, and unafraid. Hear me, world. This morning, our valiant forces struck down an intruder from the skies. A drone, a mechanical vulture sent by the United States of America to spy on our land, to map our defenses, to whisper secrets into the ears of those who dream of our subjugation. This is no accident, no routine patrol, as their spin doctors in Washington might claim. This is violation, pure, brazen violation of our sovereign airspace. How dare they? How dare the so-called champions of democracy treat Burkina Faso like a backyard playground for their imperial games? We are not a colony, not a vassal state to be poked and prodded at will. We are a sovereign nation, forged in the blood of our ancestors who threw off the chains of French colonialism under the immortal Thomas Sankara. Respect. That is what we demand. Respect for our borders, respect for our skies, respect for our right to chart our own path without the shadow of foreign drones looming overhead. The United States cannot, must not, violate our airspace with impunity. If they think their technology makes them gods, let them remember, even gods can fall when the people rise. And to those whispers from across the Atlantic, those threats from a man like Donald Trump, who boasts of removing leaders like discarding old shoes, let me say this, removing me from office? Ha! That's like spotting a white elephant in the Sahara. Impossible, a fantasy born of delusion. I am here, standing tall, because the people of Burkina Faso have willed it so. It is you, my brothers and sisters, the farmers of the north, the miners of the gold fields, the youth who march in the streets, who have chosen me as your leader, not through rigged elections bought with foreign dollars, but through the raw power of our collective resolve. I serve at your pleasure, and as long as the Burkinabe heart beats with the rhythm of freedom, no external force can uproot me. Hear me, America! Hear me, Trump and your cabal of warmongers. Let the people decide who will lead them. Stop your meddling, your coups disguised as democracy promotion, your sanctions that starve the innocent while enriching your corporations. We remember Libya, we remember Iraq, lands torn asunder by your interventions, left in ruins while you pat yourselves on the back. No more. In Burkina Faso, the people decide their own fate. We decide who to be friends with, whether it's the steadfast support of Russia, who arms us against the jihadist scourge without strings attached, or China, who builds our roads and schools without demanding our souls in return. And we decide who not to be friends with, those who exploit our resources, who prop up puppets to siphon our wealth, who send drones to spy instead of diplomats to dialogue. This is not just about one drone. It's about a pattern, a plague of neo-colonialism that has haunted Africa for too long. Think deeper, my people. Why do they fear us? Because under our revolution, we've reclaimed our gold mines from Canadian and Australian vultures, redirecting profits to schools, hospitals, and weapons for our defense. Because we've expelled the French parasites who bled us dry for decades, only to see them slink away in humiliation. Because we've allied with brothers in Mali and Niger to form the Alliance of Sahel States, a bulwark against ECOWAS traitors who dance to Washington's tune. They fear us because we are succeeding where they predicted failure. Our forces, bolstered by true partners, are pushing back the terrorists that Western policies helped create. Al-Qaeda, ISIS, these monsters thrive in the chaos you sow, America, with your endless wars and arms sales. But let us delve even further into this outrage. Imagine the arrogance. A drone, buzzing like a mosquito over our sovereign territory, equipped not just with cameras but with ears to eavesdrop on our communications, perhaps even payloads to strike at will. This is reconnaissance for invasion, plain and simple. Gathering intel to remove leaders who dare say no to your hegemony. Trump threatens to clean house in Africa? Let him try. Our Panzer systems, our vigilant radar networks, our unbreakable spirit, they are ready. And behind them stands a people who have tasted liberation and will never kneel again. We are not the weaklings of yesterday. We are the lions of the Sahel, roaring back at the eagles who circle above. To the youth of Burkina Faso, I say, this is your fight, your future. Rise up in the streets, in the villages, in the digital arenas. Show the world that our sovereignty is non-negotiable. To our African brothers across the continent, see this as a call to arms against the old order. From Addis Ababa to Cape Town, let us unite against these violations, these threats that seek to divide us. And to the American people, those not blinded by propaganda, question your leaders. Why does your government spend billions on drones and wars while your own streets crumble? Why meddle in our affairs when your house is in disarray? This incident is a spark, but the fire it ignites. As the dust settles from yesterday's explosive confrontation in the skies, Burkina Faso's military has launched a sweeping operation into the vast expanses of the Sahel, mobilizing elite units to scour the drone wreckage and surrounding terrain for critical intelligence. This rapid deployment, ordered directly by Captain Ibrahim Traore in the aftermath of his impassioned press address, underscores the nation's heightened state of alert, with officials vowing to unearth any evidence of further U.S. espionage or preparations for a ground invasion. The move transforms the remote desert borderlands into a fortified zone of investigation, blending forensic scrutiny with defensive posturing against what Burkinabe leaders describe as an existential threat from across the Atlantic. At dawn today, under the cover of a blood-orange sunrise, columns of armored vehicles and helicopter gunships rumbled out from bases in Ouagadougou and Fada-Ngourma, converging on the crash site near Dori, a desolate stretch of acacia-dotted scrubland that straddles the volatile frontier with Mali. Leading the charge are elements of the Rapid Intervention Battalion, BIR, Burkina Faso's crack special forces trained in counterterrorism and now repurposed for this hybrid mission of salvage and surveillance. Equipped with Russian-supplied drones of their own, metal detectors, and explosive ordnance disposal teams, the troops are combing a 20-square-kilometer radius around the debris field, where fragments of the alleged MQ-9 Reaper lie scattered like shattered bones in the sand. This is not just cleanup, it's a hunt for the fingerprints of aggression, declared Colonel Abdoulaye Sawadogo, commander of the operation, speaking via satellite link from the forward command post. We're looking for black boxes, circuit boards, payloads, anything that reveals the drone's true mission. Was it armed? Did it carry payloads for precision strikes? These clues could expose a network of U.S. assets embedded in the region, plotting our downfall. Early reports from the ground indicate the discovery of sophisticated avionics components, including encrypted data modules that Burkinabe cyber experts are racing to crack. Speculation abounds that these could contain flight logs showing repeated incursions, or even coordinates targeting key installations like the presidential palace or gold mining operations under Traore's nationalized control. Delving deeper into the operation's strategic layers reveals a multifaceted strategy born of paranoia and pragmatism. The Sahel's unforgiving terrain, endless dunes, hidden wadis, and nomadic encampments, has long been a haven for jihadists affiliated with Al-Qaeda in the Islamic Maghreb, AQIM, and the Islamic State in the Greater Sahara, ISGS. But now, Burkinabe intelligence suspects these groups might be unwitting pawns or even collaborators in a larger U.S. scheme. We've seen it before: Western powers arming moderates who turn out to be extremists, all to justify intervention, a senior defense official told reporters on condition of anonymity. The military sweep includes interrogating local Tuareg herders and refugees from Mali, probing for sightings of suspicious vehicles or foreign operatives. Drones overhead are mapping heat signatures, while ground patrols set up mobile radar outposts to detect any additional aerial threats, effectively turning the area into a no-fly zone enforced by shoulder-launched missiles. This escalation ties directly into the broader narrative of U.S. aggression amplified by Donald Trump's recent rhetoric. Analysts point to historical precedents: the 2011 NATO intervention in Libya, which toppled Muammar Gaddafi under the guise of humanitarian protection, or the ongoing U.S. drone campaigns in Somalia and Yemen that blur the lines between counterterrorism and regime change. In Burkina Faso's case, the fear is that the downed drone was part of a decapitation strategy, gathering real-time intel on Traore's movements to enable a swift strike or coup. Trump's threats aren't idle. He's a man who acts, warned Dr. Fatoumata Keita, a security expert with ties to the Alliance of Sahel States. Imagine SEAL teams or private contractors slipping across the border from Niger, where U.S. bases linger despite expulsion orders. Our forces are preempting that by fortifying the Sahel now. Complicating the picture are reports of unusual activity in neighboring countries. Malian sources claim increased U.S. satellite overflights, while Nigerian dissidents allege secret meetings between ECOWAS envoys and American diplomats in Niamey, discussing restoration of constitutional order in the region. A euphemism, Burkinabe officials argue, for reinstalling pro-Western puppets. Back at the crash site, soldiers have unearthed what appears to be a partially intact camera pod, its lenses trained southward toward Ouagadougou. Forensic teams, aided by Russian advisors on the ground, are analyzing residue for chemical signatures that might indicate the drone's origin from bases in Djibouti or even carrier groups in the Gulf of Guinea. Every shard tells a story, Colonel Sawadogo emphasized. If we find links to CIA black sites or Trump-affiliated mercenaries, it will prove this was no isolated incident but the tip of an invasion spear. As the operation unfolds, tensions ripple through local communities. Villages along the deployment route have been placed under curfew, with military convoys distributing aid, water, food, medical supplies, to win hearts and minds while gathering tips on potential infiltrators. Social media buzzes with unverified videos of troops unearthing buried cables, sparking theories of a hidden U.S. listening post network. International observers, including a delegation from the African Union, have requested access but been rebuffed, with Traore's government insisting on sovereign control over the investigation. Meanwhile, U.S. Africa Command, AFRICOM, has issued a vague statement denying hostile intent, but acknowledging routine regional operations, further fueling suspicions. The stakes couldn't be higher. A single damning discovery could rally Pan-African support against perceived U.S. imperialism, or provoke retaliatory strikes that drag the Sahel into open conflict. With night falling over the desert, searchlights pierce the darkness as soldiers press on, their vigilance a bulwark against